welcome back to the It's Beyond Me podcast. It's your girl, Drift Nasty.
Freddie T.
And today we're going to be talking about a pretty disturbing topic.
The dangers of California Civil Code Section 51. For those of you who don't know what Civil Code 51 is.
Okay, Section Code 51, also known as the Unrust Civil Rights Act, prohibits discrimination on the basis of certain protected characteristics such as race, sex, sexual orientation, and disability in business establishments. And it says, while the law is intended to protect individuals from discrimination, there may be concerns that it could be used to infringe on the rights of business owners, particularly when it comes to issues of free speech and expression. Additionally, there may be concerns that the law could be used to impose liability on businesses for the actions of their employees or customers. And boy, do we have a doozy.
Pretty much, I just feel like you guys watch this video and then you tell me what you feel and I'll tell you how I feel.
My name is Rebecca Phillips and I'm 17 years old. I am not a resident of Santee, but I am employed at a local restaurant, the Omelet Factory, and I work out regularly at the Santee YMCA. Just 2 weeks ago, after finishing my shift at my job, I went to the gym to swim laps. As I was showering after my workout, I saw a naked male in the women's locker room. I immediately went back into the shower, terrified, and hid behind their flimsy excuse for a curtain until he was gone. I ran into a bathroom stall to change as quickly as I could, organizing my thoughts to share with the people at the front desk. As I did so, I could only think of my 5-year-old sister, who I bring to this gym during the summer to enjoy their water slides. This is the YMCA, where hundreds of children spend their summer afternoons in childcare camps. This is the YMCA where my little sister took gymnastics lessons. The locker room was supposed to be her safe haven to gossip with her friends and shower and change. When I asked the YMCA management what their policy was regarding transgenders, they confirmed that the man that I saw was indeed allowed to shower wherever he pleased. As long as you are not a red flag on Megan's Law, the California Sex Offender Registry, a grown male can shower alongside a teenage girl at your YMCA location here in Santee. I was made to feel as though I had done something wrong when I talked to people at the YMCA. Somehow, the indecent exposure of a male to a female minor was an inconvenience to them. When my dad spoke to the sheriff's office, they told him that he should never allow me to shower there ever again. The YMCA wouldn't let my father speak to the manager of the Santee branch. After waiting several days, he finally received a call from Terry Moss, who is the director of membership for San Diego County. She informed my dad that I was not in any danger at the time of the incident, that I was safe. But I ask you this, I'm assuming all of you either have a wife, a sister, daughters, or granddaughters, or are a woman yourself. Could you knowingly send an underage girl into a room where there was a naked male and say that she was not in danger, that she was safe, or more importantly, that this was right? The fact that we are now tailoring our privacy policies and bathroom laws around transgenders, ignoring the blatant threat to safety that this poses, is obscene. The safety of children, girls, is on the chopping block. And this issue is not unique to one political party. Both Democrats and Republicans whom I have shared this story with have all been equally disgusted. So I implore you all to take action. With great privilege comes great responsibility.
When you watch this video, I feel like I put myself as, I'm not a parent now, but I put myself in the parent's shoes or in the girl's shoes. You're a young girl, you're in the shower, you know, you're at the gym, you go and work out, you go and take a shower straight after. And once you're in there, all of a sudden you see some guy walk through. You don't see the person's face. You don't see their head. You just see, initially, all you see is dangling meat. and at the same time, you're like, what the hell's going on? This is supposed to be a female bathroom. Now, at the end of the day, it's kind of alarming to me because this is the part that doesn't make sense to me in this whole situation. Because what they're saying is that any person who identifies as transgender or identifies as a female, technically, They don't have to be biologically female. They don't have to have gone through any surgery. They don't really have to. They just have to wake up this morning and say that they are female and identify as one, and they can go and
into any woman's personal space.
Yeah. Now, my problem with that is, like the lady in the video so rightly said, she normally brings her 5-year-old sister to the gym. And this is where my problem with this whole bathroom
She was a minor.
Yeah. But my whole thing is, that one's 17. The sister's 5.
Yeah.
My thing is, this is a YMCA. I'm not going to lie to anybody. When I was a little kid, I used to go to the gym with my parents. And at the end of the day, you got to think about it. When you're done working out, you all go and take a shower when you're done, or when you go and swim, you all go and change in the change room. It's the same locker room that they're using. So my problem with that whole situation is this. You're 5 years old. You don't know what's going on. All of a sudden, a man walks through butt naked. That's when my problem comes in with it.
Because it could be traumatizing.
It's traumatizing to a little kid because now it confuses the hell out of them about what the hell's really going on here. They don't know why does this person not have the same body parts I have?
It causes confusion, and they start asking a whole bunch of questions that 5-year-olds really shouldn't be asking. I don't care about all that stuff that you're trying to shove down people's throats about how kids need to be informed on stuff like this. No, they don't. They don't even
Especially
know
not at
anything
5
like
years
that.
old.
Yeah, no.
Like I've said in the past, when I was 5, 7, 6, 8 years old, I was not worried about if somebody's gay or not. I was not worried about do I like girls or not. Hell, back then I just thought girls gave you cooties. I was a little kid. I was innocent. But now it's like you got to watch where you take your kids because you never know. My thing, and this is where my problem lies with civil rights laws like this, is there has to be a point where there's decency and indecency. What people don't understand is, yes, I understand you're fighting for your rights, but at the same time, we have to protect our kids too.
Yeah, you can't just accept everything. You have to stand for something or you'll fall for anything.
Like at the end of the day, people fail to understand that, you potentially scarred that kid for life. Mm-hmm. Mind you, the 5-year-old wasn't there. This is the 17-year-old that's crying who's scarred. And then on top of that, when she goes to tell the gym about the problem, she's made to feel like she's the criminal.
And it didn't stop there either, because after she told her dad about it, you heard what she said, that she went and talked to the police about it, and the police said that there was nothing that they could do because she wasn't being threatened. Now, mind you, again, that I just told y'all about that other law that had passed, or the bill that passed out there, saying that 14-year-olds are now old enough to consent to sexual acts, and a 24-year-old and a 14-year-old are perfectly legal as long as it's consensual. But who's to say, there's a weird place, there's a gray area in there. But I personally feel like that's why they didn't do anything, is what I'm getting at. I feel like the cops didn't do nothing about it because they're starting to try to normalize pedophilia out there in California. Because that's where this is from again, California.
And at the same time, I understand everybody's fighting for their rights. And I understand when it all comes down to it that,
But we're not fighting for the rights.
No, this is my problem. I hear all these women saying that, they're fighting for their rights, and I hear all these men saying they're fighting for their rights, and I hear it. God forbid, everybody has the right to express themselves. But at the same time, isn't it we're fighting for our rights, but should those rights infringe on another person's liberty? Why?
But how are they not able to express themselves?
But that's what they're hiding behind. They're hiding behind the fact that they're saying that, they feel unsafe going to use men's bathrooms. Bathrooms they've been using this whole time, mind you. A lot of these men haven't had surgery or anything. So in the eyes of men, they're men. And at the same time, this is my problem with them. A lot of them haven't had any surgeries. Yeah. But they just want to call themselves women, and they want to be allowed to go. I just feel that you leave too many gray areas for people to abuse the situation. Too many gray areas for a person to go over there and just say that they are when they're not. And too many gray areas for something bad to happen. My problem with this whole situation is I don't mind if a person identifies as an...
That's your business.
That's your business.
Identify what you want to identify as. But don't be hiding behind that saying, oh, well, we're fighting for our rights to express ourselves. Y'all had that argument when it came down to marriage, when you wanted to marry your significant other that was the same sex. Okay, you could say that you had to put up a fight for same-sex marriage, but guess what? Y'all could do that now. So there ain't no fight.
My problem is, how is this not different to indecent exposure?
This
person exposed themselves in front of a kid. They were in a place. Yes, it's a locker room, but at the same time, you knowing that you have other parts that everybody else in that locker room does not have, and if you should cover up enough. That's the part that doesn't make sense to me.
If a man who claimed to be straight, right, who proclaimed himself to be straight, did that same thing, he'd be hit with a sex charge.
Yep.
Indecent exposure.
And this is deeper than just this case. The same case a few months back was a case of that teacher in Canada who used to wear the prosthetic breasts and was wearing the little mini skirts, and you're teaching 13-year-olds. Like, come on, man, that's voyeurism. At the end of the day, why is it's okay when for a person to do it because they say, oh, I'm trans, or oh, I'm gay, you're infringing on my rights. So now they're just using it as a crutch.
Yep.
How is that okay?
Let a straight person pull something like that. Let a straight woman teach in class with huge boobs and a super tight shirt and a mini skirt come up in there.
That happened. A few months later, a straight woman who was cis, biologically born as a female, went and was teaching classes, and they said her clothes were too revealing or too attractive, or and they fired the lady. They didn't even give her a chance. But yet this guy could walk around with the humongous prosthetic breasts and be wearing a mini skirt that technically went against all dress codes for the students and for the teachers. But it's okay because you know what? He trans. He identifies as a woman. But okay, even if he identifies as a woman, there still has to be rules and regulations. The fact of the matter is, we're setting the bar so low just to accept a person doesn't make sense to me.
It makes me mad because they play political games with kids. It's hard for me not to get upset when we're doing these videos because I don't believe in putting kids in the middle of grown folks' business. In my opinion, they're weirdos, okay? You putting kids in the middle of weirdos, grown folk business. If you want to be a weirdo, that's your right to express yourself as the weirdo you are. You feel me? But you don't have the right to stuff that down kids' throats, to shove it in their face. It don't matter what you see nowadays. You could turn on the TV and you have trans propaganda, gay propaganda for the kids to watch.
My only problem is I hear this topic being argued every single time. And I hear a lot of woke women out here saying, oh my God, we're fighting for each other's rights. But then I sit there and I listen to these people who you're fighting for your rights for. And I hear it from the other side where people are like, well, a guy is asked, would you date a trans woman? He says no. Then all of a sudden he's labeled homophobic because he has a preference. His preference is he would rather date a person who was biologically born into the gender that he likes.
And stayed that way because everybody started out either a man or woman.
But then the thing that's ridiculous about it is he's labeled that, but if you ask a trans woman, would you date a trans man? And they say no, then it's okay, but they're not called homophobic. They're not called anyphobic because at the end of the day, they say, oh, they're allowed to have a preference. It's their right to have a preference. So me as a straight person, am I not allowed to have a right to have a preference too?
Yes, you are. Everybody has preferences. Ain't nobody got to be allowed to have one. You know what you're attracted to and what you ain't attracted to. Those are your preferences. It's like people who try to classify people as racist based off their preferences. Some people just don't go for things that other people go for, and it's okay.
It's perfectly okay, and that's all I'm saying. My biggest problem with this whole situation is I feel like there's no restrictions. Everybody's hiding behind, oh, we're fighting for our right, but yet they're leaving a lot of room for perversion of the law in this situation.
And what rights? I'm just confused on where this fight is at.
But my problem is like when a straight person dresses, they say people will be like, "Oh my God, did you see what he was wearing? That was not acceptable." And he'll get indecent exposure. You'll get a ticket for some type of indecent exposure, not dressing properly or whatever. Be it in a school, a business, or whatever. There are rules and regulations of how you're supposed to dress. Mm-hmm. But then when it's done by the other side, by trans, gay, lesbian, whoever, it's acceptable. Why? Because we're setting the bar so low, nobody expects any better, which is insulting. I would be insulted if I was them.
Yeah. Because
I'm looking at it like people don't really look at me like I'm anything. They're looking at me like as the bottom of the bottom, if that's the standard they're setting. So my question and I'm just asking everybody, how do you feel about this Civil Code 51? Do you think it's appropriate? Because everybody knows sooner or later, this is going to be implemented everywhere. We've seen places like Target try and implement it. We've seen, and this is outside of California, Target has tried to implement it. Other places have tried to implement it. It's a civil code, so it's going to slowly creep in everywhere. How do you feel about it? And do you feel that it affects you? Or do you feel it affects your kids in any manner?
And I don't like the way that they worded this stuff anyways, because how they worded it is basically saying, oh, they don't want any discrimination in the workplace, right? Well, we've had that conversation a long time ago. But then it goes from that to men and women can go around and exposing themselves to boys and girls.
Well, my thing is, I've worked at different companies, and there's always been a dress code that you're supposed to adhere to.
Yeah.
But what I've noticed is when it comes to trans or anybody of the LGBTQ, most of these companies are scared to say anything because of the fact that they're scared to be looked at as if they're going against the grain, as if they're impeding or encroaching on somebody's rights or something like that. So they just don't do anything about it. But when is it going to be the time for them to actually open their mouths?
We have a coward problem. Because the same way that they're afraid to open their mouths about that, that's just like, what's her name? We won't say names. But, what's her name? Who was at work or whatever and then didn't want to address a rude mouth girl because the girl was Hispanic and she was white and she didn't want to be labeled racist. We have a coward problem. Mm-hmm. Everybody's afraid of what the next person's going to say, what the repercussions are going to be. Well, you ain't going to bring about no change like that. That's what I know.
The problem that's there is that I feel that I understand that everybody's fighting for the rights, but at the same time, why is it another person getting their rights is encroaching on another group of people?
But we keep saying
Are we fighting for rights or are we fighting for supremacy? That's the part I don't understand.
Because what is the right?
Because at the end
I'm asking you. What is the rights that people are fighting for?
They saying they're fighting for their right to express themselves.
But people can't express themselves. People have opinions about the way that some people express themselves, and they're allowed to have those opinions just like they're allowed to express themselves. The only fight, that's what I was saying earlier, the only fight that they had was for gay marriage. Same-sex marriage. And that's been approved. So what is the fight? They hide behind that. And women do it too, man. All that, women's rights. That ended years ago. The women's rights done passed. Now here we are. Also slaving to the machine. Also going to wars. Okay, we've achieved women's rights. Woohoo. Now what? What rights? There ain't none. Everybody want to hide behind that.
I mean, now at the end of the day, women are losing their rights because they're being told that a man can just dress up and say he's a woman.
And be that, yeah.
And then they turn around, not special.
And they'll straight up turn around and ask a man who only wants to date straight women, oh, well, what is it that she could do that I can't do? Have a baby. How about that? Like, there's plenty of things. Have a womanly touch. You can put on a dress and call yourself a woman, but you won't never have that woman naturing feel. You feel me? Like, that, I feel like it's an unfair question. For us to sit here and say it's your prerogative to do what you want to do, it's our prerogative to do what we want to do. And I think it's really insulting and unfair for anybody to ask what it is that we bring to the table that you can't bring to the table. Ain't nobody asking that about you. We don't care what you do. So don't be worried about what we doing. That's how I feel about it. It gets you mad.
I can sense it. But at the same time, I'm just saying that, you know, this is a topic that's been bothering me for this past week. And I just wanted to hear what everybody else had to say about it. Please like and comment and tell us how you feel about it. Thanks for coming to listen to us.
It's your girl Drift Nasty once again.
Freddie T.
And we'll be seeing y'all soon.